Welcome back. Welcome back. Tell the Truth, episode 38. We got the trio back. CJ is having technical difficulties. Chiefs training camp is here. Opening weekend.
Country
I'm in
don't pay
St.
us enough
Joseph.
money, bro.
Man, you
Country,
don't
Country, we need more money, bro.
need more.
We need
Country
more
did
money.
say he was going to upgrade CJ's equipment. He ain't done that
Need
He
a
yet.
still
record.
ain't did it, bro. He ain't got us no polos, no
Still,
nothing.
still got DJ or DG with the the trucker mic, man.
We thugging it for y'all,
Country
man.
is
See,
crazy.
Man, really
well, yeah, he
out
got
here,
me with
dog.
he got me these AirPods though. That's it.
CJ and I making a trek up to St. Joe getting them clips, man. He ain't upgraded us yet. We gonna
He
work
ain't
on
pay
it.
for the
We did that
gas
for
or
y'all,
nothing.
man.
We
No,
get no cop, nothing.
Mm-mm.
I was hungry,
all
hot.
We ain't got no company card. No company card around here.
We ain't sponsored out here yet, y'all. We trying though.
Ain't got no media bracelets. We out there on the bleachers, dog.
We ain't got no. We sit out there grinding for y'all,
Mhm.
for the kingdom. We rock with y'all.
For the kingdom, man.
For the kingdom, for the kingdom. But yes, yours truly, D-Mac, DG, and CJ. Here, as the Chiefs training camp has gotten underway, it feels like it's starting earlier and earlier every year. This year, of course, a little bit earlier than last. Three practices, three full team practices under the Chiefs' belt. We've seen a lot of interesting storylines already emerge. Defensive backfield, running back room, wide receivers, offensive line, you name it. I think we've heard pretty much about everything to this point, except maybe the linebackers and the defensive line, to be honest with you guys. So we got a lot to get into, both from what we've seen, what's been reported, some things that's been observed, even around the league, and some things as well. But first and foremost, man, DG, CJ, how y'all doing, and how y'all feeling about Chiefs camp starting back up?
Man, fired up. Glad to see all the clips and everything coming out. Excited, man. Football is right around the corner, and you know, ready, man. Ready for
You
the
can
season.
smell it.
Ready to see what happens.
Smells like
Right,
grass.
it's in the air. So
Wet
great time
grass.
of the
Smells like
year.
football. Love this time of the year. Outside of the allergies,
Right.
it's that time of the year. The only part that's
Absolutely.
my eyes watering right now. Jesus.
The allergies.
Other than
The
that, I love
allergies
it,
is
man.
crazy.
Camp was fun. Allergy. Um, Camp was fun. Good to see everybody get out there, run around. Every day is a good day when we have no injuries. So I love that. Good to see Pat looking like his old self, throwing the ball downfield. That's always great to see. Everybody's out there rocking and rolling, just trying to get a couple guys back off injury with Amenahu and Tooney. But those guys will be back in time, and Justin Reed as well, and Jalen. But once we get all the gang back, everybody be rocking and rolling. Every day we have a day, and I don't get an alert or a tweet about anybody getting hurt. It's a good day for me, fellas. So that's all I want to see. Everybody stay healthy, keep it rolling. We're just trying to make it through another 17-game season, man. That's all we can do now.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
wealth.
Health is wealth, baby. Health is wealth.
We've talked about it a little bit as to this point about the health aspect of it, and Xavier Worthy missed the last two practices. Appears to be a strep throat issue from his perspective, so hopefully nothing too serious and something he can get over pretty quickly. But just jumping right into the health aspect of things, the big news as far as injury is concerned, we kind of knew about everybody else's issues coming into camp to this point. Trey, Joe Tooney, obviously Charles Omenihu coming back, guys off season surgery, Jalen Watson, of that actual magnitude. But the big one is Justin Reed to this point. Seems like he went into the non-football injury list immediately going into camp. Did come in with a quad issue. We saw him standing behind the defense next to Dave Merritt throughout a lot of the teamwork as well, kind of talking and going through things to that point. Appears that he might have injured himself during some type of training off season that he did maybe with Ryan Clark as well. That seems to be a word around it. So it's interesting that the defensive veteran, as far as the safety room is concerned, currently out, and that's opened up some opportunities for a little bit of defensive backfield shuffling. As a result, the place that I do want to just lead off here, and then we'll kind of talk about what we've seen from camp specifically, as it doesn't relate to that. Obviously, there are a few really good safeties still on the market. We did see Jamal Adams sign with the Titans not a few short days ago. I would not necessarily qualify him as a good safety, but he did sign with the Titans a few days ago. The good safety still out there: Quandre Diggs, Justin Simmons, to name a few. I mean, is this Justin Reed injury something to where you would be interested in bringing in one of those safeties to add to this room at this current moment in time? And do you think that that could be a viable thing to do from a roster position standpoint as well?
I mean,
Yeah.
even kind of before the injury, I was still kind of interested in Justin Simmons, regardless. Just with the pedigree that he kind of plays with, be something in our safety room that we kind of haven't had, and I know that he could come in and help this defense with something that they really struggled with last year, which was turnovers, getting the ball back for the offense or whatever. I know that's something he's kind of good at, with being a ball hawk in that in the DB room. I'm not concerned, like super concerned about the Justin Reed injury right now, because I kind of feel like it's something if they go into the season with, I think that Spaz can kind of scheme around. I think that there is a point of emphasis where they will miss his leadership a little bit, especially with having so many younger guys back there, and Shamari Connor and Jaden Hicks, and now Brian Cook. But I still feel pretty confident what they can be able to go out there and do with those three as well. Especially with Cook and Shamari Connor having a little bit of experience in this defense as of now. So I'm not too concerned about it, but it would be nice to see Justin get back out there on the field at some point in this camp. So hopefully, praying for a quick and safe recovery for him, and hopefully he comes back quickly.
No, yeah, absolutely. I don't think it's really a big deal, honestly. It's probably like an off-season injury. Nothing really concerning. He's been out there at practice every day, taking mental reps with the guys. So, and it's probably good that we can get all the guys to get their reps in, because obviously you don't want to see ever injuries happen to your team. But also, there's always a good thing about it. You get to see younger guys get ready and get prepared, because they're going to be those moments when they have to play, right? So all these reps now are invaluable for guys like Jaden Hicks and guys like Shamari Connor in their rookie and sophomore years. They're going to get way more reps now than they would have thought coming into camp. Which more reps is always better for younger guys, because they get to mentally be prepared for all type of scenarios going into the season. And then when Justin does come back, like we all expect him to be ready, then everybody's going to be mentally prepared for those reps when their number's called. So especially in the DB room, D-line, we're really anybody on defense, but especially DBs, I've always said that everyone's going to play. You just have to be ready when your moment's called. So I'm not really concerned about the Justin injury too much, because I know he'll be back. And I think if it was a major concern, they would have probably signed somebody off the waiver wire, maybe somebody who's available. But obviously, camp just started. We haven't really seen too many crazy injuries happen where guys get knocked out and getting cut from teams yet. But I don't think it's a major addition that I think that we need right now. Justin Simmons will be amazing. I think he's going to – I'm still surprised he's even sitting on the market. He's one of the top 5 safeties in the league, and he's not getting money. It's crazy. I think he'll get a deal somewhere from somebody, but I don't think it'll be us. But, yeah, I will, if there anybody we would sign, I would like to see sign a running back if that's the position we are going to sign somebody. But I think at DB group, I think we're so deep. I think we're really good in there. We still got Deion Bush as well. Everybody try to not overlook him as well. He made a big interception in the AFC Championship game for Baltimore. So I love Shamari. I love Jaden. Obviously, I love the whole group. Brian Cook looked good from the reps me and D-Mac saw the last 2 days of camp. He looks healthy and rolling out there. So I'm cool with the DB group we have now for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, that's something that we can talk about as far as those in-house solutions for right now. I think that Justin Simmons is probably just going to get a little bit more money than what ultimately we would talk about. I think Quandre Diggs could be a reasonable option, but I honestly do expect, because of what you guys kind of laid out, that we'll just stand pat and roll with the young guys that we have in-house. That's what I would expect us to kind of roll with. The question mark is just how much work can you get out of cornerbacks from that standpoint? Because right now you've got Shamari Connor working with, the first team really in the nickel, allowing Trent McDuffie to work outside, and that competition for that cornerback 2 spot, which we'll talk about a little bit later on, to continue to heat up between Joshua Williams and obviously Nazeeh Johnson. And, we'll see how Watson can factor back in when he is healthy again. And that leaves right now Jaden Hicks coming over to work a lot when Shamari goes down into that slot with Brian Cook in those 3 safety sets from that standpoint. And that's a solution that works, but it also is a solution that leaves you with Deion Bush as the primary backup safety. And is that a place that you want to live in? Certainly. But to you guys' point, It sounds like it's just some type of strain, not necessarily something that's requiring surgery or something that's incredibly debilitating. They did say that they would expect to be without Justin Reed for a bit here. And so hopefully all that means is Jaden Hicks get a little bit more early work than necessarily was expected with the first team, but ultimately that puts him in a better spot moving forward to be an immediate contributor. Because look, I mean, Justin Reed understands the reps, he understands what he needs to do. So getting Jaden Hicks that extra experience is not necessarily a bad thing as long as Reed is ready when the lights come on, to say the least. So speaking of the secondary as a whole and solutions within the house, obviously talking about things kind of being built out as far as where the corner back room is concerned from the standpoint of obviously we have Trent McDuffie locked into the number one role right now to start camp. It has seemed a whole lot of Shamari Connor kind of working as far as in the slot. Joshua Williams, who I do want to give a quick shout out. He made a few really good plays while we were up there at camp. Certainly, I think he had the interception, and then he also had a pretty good knockaway on a deep pass as well. We saw a lot of really good plays from the DBs, especially on that second day. I think we can both agree on that, CJ, from that standpoint. And look, it's going to be important. Yeah, it's going to be important to see him really step up from the standpoint of there's going to be a lot of our shoulders. We know that this team is now moving on from obviously L'Jarius Sneed traded him to the Tennessee Titans for a third-round pick. That means that Joshua Williams is going to be relied upon to make a lot of plays opposite Trent McDuffie. He's going to be targeted a lot as well. And he's going to have to make things. If he doesn't, then it's not necessarily going to go well for this defense from that perspective as well. Did we lose CJ for a second? I think we might lose CJ for a second.
Wow.
Okay.
Oh,
I was looking at
somebody's calling me.
I was looking to show this anyway. So this was the interception Joshua Williams was able to make undercutting that route for Patrick Mahomes, and he pitched it back to Chris Jones for a little bit of fun to end that play as well. But yeah, that was one of a few really.
Don't ever do that.
Don't ever do that.
I never want to see that.
It's practice, guys. Relax.
But yes, we've seen both him kind of really get those primary reps. We've seen Najee Johnson working a little bit as well. Further down the roster, we've seen a little bit of Kamal Hayden, late round draft pick, cornerback out of Tennessee, working in the slot, and then also as an outside corner. Nick Jones, I think, has maybe been pushed out a little bit because we've seen some really good play from Calvin Joseph, who's come in as kind of a veteran addition to compete for a spot. You're seeing a lot of competition for those cornerback spots to see if they can get on the roster. It'd be fascinating to watch, especially when Watson ends up getting back into that role as well. And obviously, we've talked about the safety room and what they've been able to present. So, CJ, I'll start out with you. Who really stood out to you from those first few days of camp from a secondary perspective? Who were you impressed by? Mostly, I guess, during the teamwork. I mean, obviously, we know that the first team represents a little bit of muscle memory from that standpoint. But who stood out to you from the secondary aspect?
Shamari Connor, obviously the second year jump that we expected from him. He made a lot of plays, deep field, whether it be in the box, close to the ball, just always being in the right position, whether even if he didn't make the play or not, he's just always in the right position. Rarely was he really beat. It was always a really good throw by Pat, or obviously the receiver like Hollywood making a good play on the ball, but he was always in position from the 2 days we saw, and I saw him make another good play today when they tried to throw that deep double move on Hollywood. So Shamari's doing a great job of obviously taking that leadership, taking that next step, showing his versatility, like D-Mac said, playing in the slot if need be, playing deep third safety, playing in the box. I think he's probably going to be vital to this DB group, obviously, with the injury that's going to happen during the season. You rather them happen now in camp. I know people don't want to hear that, but getting out the way now, like we said, is going to be good for guys like Shamari and Jaden. Because all those live bullet reps, you're going to get all those reps now. It's going to make you better for the season. So get all the injuries, get the bug out now, get guys ready for week one, and then we're ready to roll. But Shamari Connor definitely my biggest standout in the secondary so far.
Yeah, I completely understand now. Lego did ask this question a little bit earlier. The only guy that really was of consequence that left this offseason was Brant Tillis, and he was the salary cap guy that they had leaned on. But like the Chiefs, in a similar fashion as they run their coaching staff to make sure that they have guys ready to step up into roles, that's the same way they run the front office. So the things that Brent Tillis has been doing from a salary cap perspective, not only has Brett Veach had a hand in that, but he's also kind of taught the other guys below him so that they make sure that they're ready to have those passed on and continued on. So we'll see if there's any issues down the line. But as of right now, that's not necessarily a concern immediately as well. The scouting structure is still, fully intact, and it didn't change after Brian Poles left either. So from that perspective, I'm not necessarily concerned. At DG, my question to you would be, do you have a guy as far as the cornerback room that you feel like is needed to step up? Like, obviously, Williams versus Watson versus Najee is going to be the easy question. But do you feel like if Shamari's in the slot more, he has to be stepped up a little bit more? Do you feel like it has to be one of Williams or Watson? Do you feel like a little bit more pressure comes on a guy like Jaden Hicks to make Shamari Connor being in the slot more viable? Obviously, we talked about Brian Cook coming back healthy, but who's the spotlight on for you in this secondary now that L'Jarius Sneed has moved on?
I think the biggest spotlight for me is a guy you didn't name is Trent McDuffie. Going into his third year, you're the guy now. You're number one. You're the guy who we're probably going to be expecting going into this season to go out there and probably match up against a lot of teams' number one guy. Sliding in, kind of taking that same kind of role that L'Jarius was faced with last year. I know it can be a little bit tougher just because of the physicality part of that. L'Jarius did bring a little bit different swag to this defense, a little bit different type of physicality to this defense, where he was more physical at the line. But I think that a guy like Trent McDuffie, who we've all seen, is more of a technician in his abilities. Can be that guy out there kind of on the island, but it's a lot of pressure to put on a guy in his third year to kind of come in and be the quote unquote lockdown corner. So I think Trent's got a lot on his plate. A lot of pressure going into this year, but I think it's something that he can obviously handle. We've seen him have matchups with some of the best receivers in the league, like Jamar Chase, and do well in some of those matchups. So I got a lot of expectations for him going into this year. Especially coming off an All-Pro year last year where he played really well, and especially in the slot. Now you're going to be asked to be on the outside a lot more. So really got to see that maturation process that we wanted to see from all our younger players. How can you grow? How fast will you grow? And can you thrive underneath that pressure? So Trent McDuffie is the guy I think that is who's got the spotlight for me.
Yeah, I mean that's completely understandable. McDuffie is going to have to go out there and guard really some high level wide receivers, and that's not something that he shied away from as a rookie. You can certainly say that. Like he had no issues going out there trying to get the job done against Jamar Chase, which is the guy to me really stood out immediately when we put him out there kind of as a rookie. He put some pretty good work on Jamar Chase to the point where Joe Burrow wasn't immediately going to any one-on-ones, which is something that we had never really seen as far as a quarterback. And just, I wouldn't say in the history of the Chiefs, because obviously that's a very short window in which you would have to evaluate. But we know in those Bengals matchups previously, some wide receivers have been able to get a few really good games off, but that was one that they weren't able to because of Trent McDuffie in the second half being able to show he was a really good matchup. And when you're talking about being able to make those plays, Trent McDuffie here, when the Chiefs are in the 12 personnel set, Trent McDuffie's over to the right of your screen, and you're going to see him get back to it third and make a pretty darn good play on Patrick Mahomes there, who was trying to get something over the top to Hollywood Brown there. And, the reality of the situation is it's not necessarily going to be exclusively in man coverage every time, but those are the types of plays that you're going to ask him to make on a consistent basis because he's going to be thrown at, especially if he's going to be going up against number one wide receiver. So I completely understand that from that standpoint. And Boogie said, I want him in the slot. I don't want him to necessarily leave the slot. Like, it would be nice if you had another outside cornerback. If you're able to bring in a Stephon Gilmore and leave Trey McDuffie in the slot, I think that's awesome. Like, I think he has all the physicality as we saw. And his short area quickness is so elite that there's no issues from that standpoint. But I understand that may not be the way that they want to be able to play it. And if that means that Trey McDuffie is on really good wide receivers, I'm confident in what he can show. But it is going to be a step up in competition from that standpoint on a consistent basis. He's going to have to show out as a result, and there's going to be a little bit more pressure on that front seven, in my opinion, as well from that aspect too. So along those lines, we did obviously show you a little bit of Patrick Mahomes throwing the ball deep. It appears that there is certainly an emphasis on that to start camp this year. To say the least, which I'm very happy to see, to be honest with you. We got to see first day the clip that has been circled around on social media all over the place, and I'll put it up here when Xavier Worthy was not dealing with strep throat, but this one got circulated, and KC Sports Network got the best clip there of this beautiful bomb from Patrick Mahomes rolling to his left and getting the pass off to Xavier Worthy and him finishing off with a dance. As everybody has seen over social media now. But yes, there seems to be a re-emphasis with the speed back of Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy, and Mecole Hardman to a lesser extent with him coming back on a veteran 1-year deal, of making sure that you can stretch the field. CJ and I can speak to it, certainly. We saw a lot of deep shots throughout the entirety of these camp days. And we certainly saw one earlier today about Rashee Rice down the sideline being able to beat Trent McDuffie one-on-one and getting there for a deep touchdown as well. So shout out to the offense kind of opening back up. And there's a balance to come with it. But I think that I could speak for all three of us when we say that we're very happy to see Mahomes throwing the ball deep, being back as a viable option as well. So my question to you guys is, do you think that this is going to help Travis Kelce or Isaiah Pacheco more as far as being able to stretch the field and actually open up some underneath aspects of the offense?
Pacheco more for sure. Yeah. I mean, Travis going to do him regardless. Like, deep threats or not, like, that was the worst set of weapons Travis had in his entire career, and look what Travis did. Still could have had 1,000 yards if he doesn't miss 2 football games. So it's going to open it up more for Travis, make his job more easier, obviously. Like, when you get in the red zone, 87 just a target, and he has so much flexibility, so many different options to get open. Like the Raiders game we saw 2 years ago when he scored 4 touchdowns, which is still mind-boggling to me that you let him, the biggest target, get open. But it's going to help Pacheco more than anything, because now he gets to play with those full set of weapons again, having all those deep threats and everyone that can stretch the field to where he's never really going to see a stacked box anymore. And if he does, it's going to be a lot of touchdown over the head of a lot of the safeties we play. So Pacheco will definitely see a lot more lane since he's been here. This will definitely be the best set of weapons he's played with. So I expect him to actually have a good year. On top of the fact he's not dealing with a shoulder surgery like he was last year. He's more confident than ever going into his 3rd year in the system. Can't remember, like 2 years ago, we were talking about him. We didn't know what he was expecting in this offense. Now he's a top 10 running back in the league, a guy that's obviously had 1,000 yards, who's been dominant when we get into the red zone, giving him the ball. He's gotten better every year. He's gotten more explosive. I can see in the passing game, he's getting more confident, obviously on 3rd down and protections being the most important thing. I'm sure he's more confident now than he was 2 years ago. He just knows everything. He knows what to do. He knows where to be. So I expect Pacheco to have a really big year this year. I think he's going to benefit the most from having obviously like Zay and Xavier and Mecole out there, because I don't expect teams to really play too many really stacked boxes with us. We're probably going to get back to seeing those 2 highs that we saw back in 2020 and 2021 when Tyreek was here. So I think that's going to make Pacheco's job easier. So I know he's probably the happiest person in the world when we signed Hollywood and drafted Zay, because his job has got a lot easier for sure.
Yeah, I think, in my opinion, I think it helps. I think it helps this offense as a whole. This is something, like I said, for the last 2 years that I think that they've lacked, that lack of explosion in their offense. We've seen the Chiefs have to kind of transform themselves the last 2 years and being kind of more methodical going down the field. So and we've seen that's kind of been a struggle, especially last year, especially when receivers are dropping the ball, not running the right routes. It's kind of miscues in that offense. So I think it was a little bit tougher last year. I think this year it's something that opens up this offense a lot more, and I think it helps both. Helps the run game, obviously open up lanes for them. A lot of defenses can't just stack the box and come up and put a whole bunch of guys up there to stop us. And then I think it also kind of takes some years and some pressure off of Travis Kelce to have to go out there and see less double teams, see less game planning against him. It makes them a lot dangerous now. Now you have to go into a game thinking like, okay, Chiefs can literally score in one or two plays now. Which we couldn't do the last couple of years. Or whatever. So I think it takes a lot of pressure off of Pat as well too, to have to kind of go out there and decipher everything and try to pretty much put the team on his back or whatever. We all seen him come into this training camp this year and kind of tell us that last year wasn't as fun. And I think a lot of the offensive struggles had a lot to do with that or whatever, just that mental aspect of the game of, having to kind of play the game in a different way than he's normally had to play it. So I think giving them that explosion back obviously brings a lot of fun back into this offense again, a lot of creative ways that they can get people open. So I think it's going to help out a lot, just praying and hoping that those guys, both Xavier Worthy and Hollywood Brown, can stay healthy and be out there on the field to help us win some games this year.
Yeah, absolutely. And you obviously, I asked the question between those two kind of purposely because the other guy that I think it'll certainly help significantly, who's CJ, and I got a really good look at the entirety of the first 2 days of training camp, was Mr. Rashee Rice himself, who we saw make a few different really good catches, whether it's 7-on-7 or 11-on-11. And we know Rashee Rice is a key piece of being able to work those short to intermediate areas, and certainly in between those linebackers and safeties. And you see with his Nico Remigio working on Chamari Conner there in the slot, clear out Brian Cook and open up a little bit of spot underneath Nick Bolton, and Mahomes puts it right on the money to Rashee Rice. And we saw Rashee Rice make a lot of really good plays to start out training camp this year. Obviously, there's a lot of question marks as far as his status. We've heard some reports out there about him either not being suspended, the court date being in December, meaning things are going to get pushed back. We'll end up seeing what ends up happening. But look, whenever he is out there on the field, now that Hollywood and Xavier Worthy are going to be adding that speed to the offense, we know that both Travis Kelce and Isaiah Pacheco are going to be helped significantly. And I emphasize having that speed is going to help the run game because we had so many safeties crashing down the box late. We had stacked boxes from that standpoint. They weren't concerned about being deep so they could help in the run fit more immediately. And that really did hurt our run game efficiency. But it also was going to help Rashee Rice as well. And we know how dangerous he is when you get him on the move in space with the ball in his hands and creating yards after the catch, certainly. But speaking of the running back situation, certainly there's been a lot of talk. And this is something that got a little bit of traction early on in camp when on the first day, Kadarius Toney was working a little bit out of the backfield. Andy Reid talked about they liked what they saw of Kadarius Toney in the backfield, and obviously running back 3 currently is an open competition to this point. We've seen a lot of Deneric Prince working in the first team alongside obviously Isaiah Pacheco and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Seems like Keontae Ingram and now a little bit of Luis Rees-Zammit working on the second team. So that seems to be the hierarchy as far as the running back room right now. And that's where the running back 3 kind of competition begins. We'll see what happens when pads come on, of course. It's interesting from the standpoint of how much can Kadarius Toney be in this position? Is it more of a gadget play type of thing, or is this more of a viable option? I'll let you guys answer first, and then I'll give my thoughts as well. Go ahead, DG.
Yeah, I think it's more of a gadget thing. I don't think this is the end we've seen of Kadarius Toney lining up a receiver as well too. Andy Reid is creative offensive genius, and he's gonna try to put guys in the best position that he can to make them succeed and be explosive. I think this in a sense kind of takes a little pressure off of Kadarius in a way. I think this is something that he's done before in college as well. So I think it's something they probably seen in his filming when he was at Florida. Kadarius is the type of player, man. You give him the ball in the open field and just put the ball in his hands, and he can make things happen, especially with how he can move in the field. So I think this is ultimately what this is about. But we seen last year he may not be as reliable as a receiver as we probably thought. So I think this is a good leeway to kind of get him some snaps, get him on the field at points and times or whatever. Do I expect him to be out there on every third down or something like that? No. But I could see it in certain situations, a 3rd and 2, 3rd and 1, where we want to kind of try to catch a defense off guard with that option read or something like that, or even the second downs, or where we can kind of catch some people off guard and let him get the ball in his hands in open field and make some moves. So I think this helps out with that, but I wouldn't expect him to be truly RB3 at any point in time. So.
CJ, your thoughts?
No, I agree. Obviously, KT is a very misunderstood individual at times. I know he can frustrate a lot of people. You can go all the way back to Florida fans or even New York Giants fans would probably be the most crucial on him. But overall, KT has his flaws, and I kind of tweeted this out earlier. He has his flaws for sure. He's not the best. He has inconsistent hands, like DG said, and he's injury prone to D-Mac's point. But at the same time, like DG just stated, there's not too many people in the league that can make people miss like Kadarius Toney can. I know he's frustrating. I know he can be a headache. But when he has the ball in his hands, he's one of the most electrifying plays in the league. And that's like undeniable. You can't argue that. You see it when he touches the ball. He may hurt himself in the process or may have a hard time holding on to the football. But when he does get the ball in his hands, and if he can't hold on to it, I don't know too many people in the league that want to see him in the open field one-on-one. And there's plenty of clips you've seen, whether it be the jet sweep that he did versus the Raiders last year, or whether it be the down the sideline play we had versus the Seahawks in his first year when we traded for him, or even the punt return versus the Eagles. Like, KT with the ball in his hands is a special playmaker. Now, getting it in his hands and him holding on to it is the key part, and that's what Andy and them are trying out and experimenting right now, getting him in the backfield, getting him more comfortable. He did this a lot when he was at Florida. He did the jet sweeps, he did the tosses, caught pitches, and when he gets the ball in his hands, he's a very explosive player. Now, a lot of people are going to say they don't want him on the team, they want him cut, and I wouldn't bat an eye or be mad at you for having that opinion, and all options are on the table. But it's trending right now. They're going to keep him on the roster. To DG's point, Andy loves to experiment, and he loves options, and he loves having gadget players or guys that can do multiple different things. And I know my name of this roster is versatility. Can you do more than one thing? KT can do those things. So if you have a guy who can return, you can give him. He played quarterback in high school, so we have to have a trick play guy in the bag. He can do those things as well. So anything you need for the roster to have a multiple tool guy in the backfield who can make plays, especially the creativity that Andy has in the red zone, KT fits that mold. So obviously, I don't want him picking up any blitzes or doing blitz pickup on third down in that regard. But to having a guy on your roster that can make plays in multiple different ways, whether it be trick plays, reverses, jet sweeps, screens, just get the ball in his hands and let him make somebody miss and make a play and get a first down, or if not, score. That's KT's role in this offense. So I think it's trending towards him making a roster. And you can ask D-Mac, and I was probably one of the guys that said he's not going to make the roster just because he's not available enough for me. But if this is what the kind of role they're giving him, then he may end up making a roster not by the skin of his teeth, but if he can prove his versatility to show, hey, coach, I may not be able to catch the ball downfield, but I can make all the plays intermediate or even behind the ball line of scrimmage, he's showing his value to this offense, and I think Andy's going to want to use him in that regard. So all those plays we love from Mecole and KT, they can be in that same mold for this offense, except Mecole can do more down the field things. So I love what they're doing with KT. If this keeps him on the roster, so be it. I don't hate KT by any means, but I just want him to be in the best position for him to succeed. And I think this is the best way, using him behind the line of scrimmage, handoffs, any backfield action is better for him than catching the ball downfield. So, yeah. And he is 25. Don't forget, he's not really old. He's only 25. So,
yeah. I was gonna say we've seen Andy do things like this before. When Tyreek came in his rookie year, he kind of played this same role. Although I think we all seen that he turned out to be a better receiver than a lot of people probably gave him credit for in that rookie year. But we've seen Andy take guys and put them in multiple positions, and you know how much he loves guys who are very versatile. So if this keeps KT on the roster and Andy feels comfortable with putting the ball in his hands out of the backfield, then so be it.
It is what it is.
Absolutely. I generally do agree with you guys. Like, it is a situation where he's electric with the ball in his hands. He's not necessarily reliable in catching it beyond 10 yards, really 5 yards.
Say five. I'll give it 5.
So you want to use him in ways that make a lot of sense because, again, he is dangerous with the ball in his hands. And so from that standpoint, it's a gadget thing because I don't trust him to do blitz pickups. He can't do those things that Jet McKinnon was relied upon on a consistent basis as a third down running back. I don't think he can do the things that CEH was relied upon to do as our third down running back. I don't think he can do the things that Isaiah Pacheco was asked to grow into as far as being a third down viable running back that I think he was able to do last year, kind of out of necessity, but also because he was able to step up and get better at those things. So that's a mentality thing that I think will hold him back from being a consistent third down running back option. But those gadget plays are going to be available to him. It feels as if the team wants to put him on this roster. And I will be honest with you. I went into going to the 53-man roster, and Rashee Rice being suspended opens up an extra spot between the competition that you expect of the main trio of Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney, and Nico Remigio, at least in my perspective, because I think that Justin Ross and Montel Washington and the kid Brooks that you brought in, Sheets, who you just signed, and Cornell Powell are guys that are looking on the outside, looking in from that standpoint, that it is about that trio, and that would make it 2 spots. But look, if Rashee Rice isn't suspended, then it's 1 spot. And it gets a little bit of a roster crunch. And to this point in camp, extremely early. We haven't seen any preseason games. We haven't seen any pads come on. But there's nothing that you've seen that suggests that Kadarius Toney shouldn't be the guy to get that spot. I like what I've seen from Nico Remigio. And I think that he will have his opportunity to show when he has the ability to return the ball as well in special teams. But right now, Kadarius Toney looks like a much more viable wide receiver than Sky Moore. That's just the reality of the situation. And that's tough, especially as somebody who this time last year was telling amazing lies about Sky Moore. And I have to admit that I was wrong about that. And I have to admit that, right now, Kadarius Toney is simply outpacing him. And look, as much as I have issues with him staying healthy and being reliable, the reality of the situation is you're putting me in a position in which he has limited exposure because you went out and got Hollywood Brown and got Xavier Worthy and brought Mecole back and have Justin Watson and hopefully we'll have Rashee Rice on the roster. That means that Kadarius Toney can be your wide receiver 6 gadget type of guy that's used on special teams out of the backfield and only in necessary situations. And that's a fine use of a role for him. He can't be higher than that.
We all were, man.
We all were. I'm not trying to write the book. I'm not trying to write the book on Sky Moore's career. Again, it's not over just because of a few training camp days. I'm not going to say that. There's a long road still as far as the competition is concerned, but right now he is behind it. And so he's going to have to make up some ground here because I think Kadarius Toney already has the favor of the coaching staff, even for as much as we don't like his unreliability, whether it is with his hands or with his injuries. That the reality situation is they like him a lot from that aspect. And him working out of the backfield is another viable way to have him in limited exposure still be able to make an impact on this team. And that's something to take into account. But again, competition is far from over, but it's something to make mention as well. Another thing before we move on to the big uglies, and while we're still on Jesus Christ, just jumped out of my head. the weapons of the group from that perspective. I did want to show one other clip because I felt like this is a little bit interesting as well. Real quick, shout out to Drew Tranquil. He was actually playing some darn good defense. But I got
that contract. Drew feeling good. He got up on that one play. He give me that.
He did. He was jamming some guys out there playing really well. But I did want to show this one clip because it's instructive of what I think is very important to make clear that we've seen to start this camp is that there is a clear gap in the first 3 tight ends on this roster and Irv Smith Jr. Again, not anything. It's still very early, but to this point, shout out to me for the terrible camera work there. But the 12 personnel sets, the 13 personnel sets, I haven't even seen Irv Smith really crack it as far as the first team is concerned. It's been Noah Gray and Jared Wiley as a clear second and third or 2A, 2B options, however you want to put it. And we've seen really good plays from Noah Gray, and we've seen really good plays from Jared Wiley. He made some really good red zone catches and made one long catch today as well. So Jared Wiley certainly showing himself to be a rookie that can come in and possibly make an impact for a team that uses heavy personnel sets a lot. Which is good to see, which is what we expected to see. His frame, his athleticism is something that you hope to show out early on in camp, and that means that where he has to go, even though Travis Kelce said he was ahead of him as a rookie, is only up from there from that perspective. But we know what Noah Gray brings to the table, and it's good to see that the tight end room that we expected to be significantly improved is showing early signs of that, to say the least. So moving on to the offensive line. A lot of interesting things have occurred kind of in the last 48 hours from this perspective. Just for full kind of summary, to start out the year or the training camp. And again, this is with the understanding pads have not come on. Pads come on Friday. That is a totally different dynamic to actually evaluating these things. It's something that CJ is very excited about, as you can see. It is important to understand that, again, that's a totally different dynamic. But to this point, we've seen Kingsley Suamataia, Wanye Morris rotating consistently at the left tackle position. And we've seen Drew Godric be ahead of Lucas Niang as far as rotating in at the right tackle position. And those two things are very important to understand. However, we did have a little bit of a wrinkle both in the interior offensive line and then also from the tackle position today, in which Wanye Morris took the entirety of the first team reps with that squad at left tackle as well. Kingsley did not necessarily rotate in as they had before. Again, no pads. This is just one day. Doesn't necessarily mean that things are headed one way or the other. So we would continue to monitor it as well. The second thing, of course, was that throughout the entirety of the left guard position has been manned by Mike Caliendo to start out camp. However, today we saw a little bit of Lucas Niang move into left guard as well, even with working next to Wanye Morris on that first team line, which is something fascinating. Again, we continue to watch if the young guys can possibly crack their rotations, CJ Hansen or Hunter Norzad as well out of Penn State. See if the rookies can do anything from that perspective. So out of everything that we've seen to this point, anything stand out to you guys as noteworthy? I know for me, it's the Lucas Niang kind of moving into left guard and Drew Godric really manning down that second right tackle position. I think that's a fascinating development for a guy in Drew Godric that is a part of the international player program. And, has had his first experience really playing football in general. And now is already kind of in that position where he could be considered the second right tackle on the roster. It's incredibly fascinating, impressive from that standpoint. And again, we'll see what happens when the pads come on. But that stands out to me. What about you guys as far as the offensive line here over early on?
Niang at left guard is pure comedy.
Yeah, that was hilarious to see.
That's funny. Hey, shout out to Coach Andy Heck, though. I love the experimental. I love just trying to, we want to see what it looks like just to get it on film, see what we can do. But I think everyone in Chiefs Kingdom would not like to see Lucas Niang play left guard. Let's just not do that. Let's just keep it that way. Keep him on tackle is the third string right tackle if need be, practice squad emergency guy. But moving Niang from tackle, who he couldn't even stay available at that position, to guard, it's not something. And moving him to the left side at that, definitely don't want to see that. And I saw Boog tweet that out. I thought he was joking. I didn't think he was dead serious. But then he tweeted as if that's been happening a lot. Because when me and D-Mac were there, I did not see that. So when he said that today, I'm like, they're experimenting. They're giving different combinations out there for the O-line. So that's something I definitely don't want to see. I think DG would agree. Yeah, let's keep Niang in tackle. Let's not do guard. Let's not do that.
Yeah, that's something I saw today, and the first thing I was, nah, we good.
No, sir.
Especially with having Wanye there too. Like, I don't like the sound of that, but I do applaud the Chiefs always, trying to, have guys like we said earlier in the show. Versatility helps with this team. It's a key factor to be on this team or whatever. So I guess if it boils down to an emergency, spot where Niang has to step in for a game or something like that to play that spot, we'll see what happens. Hopefully, it never gets to that point.
But, please, God, knock on wood, right? Knock on wood right now, fellas.
But I understand them trying to be, prepared of always, break glass in case of emergency kind of situations.
You never know.
You never know what happens. Injuries always happen in this game, so you have to be prepared for anything and everything. I think that the most interesting thing about the line has been kind of the rotation with the left tackle. I've heard Juwan Taylor has kind of switched over there at points and times during camp, and that Kingsley and Wanye have both been kind of taking first team reps. I think it's one of those things. It's just the spot is really just up for grabs, man. At this point, the best guy is gonna win it. We'll see what happens here when the pads come on. I think that's when the real work. We'll really get to see what these guys are really made of at this point. My hope is that Kingsley is still the guy at that position. Would really love to see him try to win that spot, but I have I got full confidence that Wanye, if he's the guy, he can go out there and perform to the best of his abilities. He still may have some rough spots here and there where they might have to help him as well, but I still think that he's a valuable piece to have on this team and to see what he has as well too. So yeah, the offensive line has been very interesting, but I feel like it'll be something by week one. I think that the Chiefs will have down pat, and hopefully Joe Tooney is back and healthy to play that left guard position because I could live a lot of days without seeing Lucas Niang on the field.
That's hilarious. I think realistically,
That's
the
not
O-line
something
it's probably going to be honestly like Kingsley and Wanye are both our left tackles. Obviously, like whoever gets a starter, the backup is going to be the guy that's ready to go. I expect Joe Tooney to be back. If we ever did have a scenario, I think it'd be Hanson or Norzad, but one of those guys would probably win the backup left guard spot, or really either backup guard spot to be ready for each way he play each side. And obviously, I expect Jawan. He was a rock for us last year. He was inconsistent, obviously, but he acknowledges things every day that he did, his mistakes last year and his pressure today. He knows what he did wrong. He knows what he needs to improve upon. He committed himself to being in better shape. I love to hear that, to go out there and take accountability and know he needs to be better. And nobody's putting it on his shoulders more than him. So obviously he's going to go out there and be better. So if he's out there, obviously we'll have our backup guards be our younger guys, and Kingsley and Wanye, one of those guys, going to win the job, and it's going to piss the other guy off to be better. So I think the O-line will be better in case, but I'm not really worried about Joe Tooney. With me and D-Max, I'm getting work in both days we were there. So obviously I expect him to be more than ready when the season comes along. For me, Joe Tooney, he ain't got to take a snap in camp for me. He ain't got to be all the way up to the preseason if he wants to be ready. However much time he needs to get that pec ready, I know he's going to be out there ready to rock and roll. So this is a guy that was willing to play in the Super Bowl with a torn pec. So if he has that kind of toughness, I'm pretty sure a whole month of training camp off will do him some good. So I love the camp battles. I love the competition we've had between Andy Heck and all the guys. But I expect Joe Tooney to be ready to rock and roll. I don't expect anything less from that guy.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I don't need to see any Joe Tooney this camp. Like I expect him to step in whenever that happens. I just hope it is by week one, so that he can be fully ready to go and feel good. And from that perspective, so I'm just hoping that he's back from that point. Lucas Niang at left guard. I'll be honest with you guys, that kind of sounds like that means that Lucas Niang is going to be on the outside looking in when this 53 comes down because.
Yeah,
if you're getting beat out by, if you're getting beat out by Chu Godric already, and both of these rookies is probably going to be on the roster, Mike Caliendo is probably going to end up making the roster as well as far as the interior is concerned. I just don't see the path there. I don't see the path to getting there. I don't really see it.
It's just another draft pick we just swung and missed.
That was a miss, fellas.
It's a third round offensive lineman. Sometimes that's just not going to be all that viable. You still got valuable starts out of him. His first year in the league. Unfortunately, he got hurt. It is what it is. These things happen. And if you can't stay healthy, you can't stay healthy. He's been a depth guy, and you kind of got to shrug shoulders and move on from that perspective. So we'll continue to watch how that develops throughout camp, but it's not a good start, I don't think, from that aspect. I don't think anything really is there to report as far as left tackle battle. These guys have kind of gone back and forth. I know Wanye got majority of the snaps right now, but truthfully, none of this matters until these guys are in pads and they start locking heads and start moving people out of the way, and we get a good look at that to start evaluating these guys from that aspect. But look, both of those guys, they look pretty good. Kingsley look like a huge athlete from that aspect. So I'm going to be fascinated to see how that competition continues to go down. But I'm actually legitimately excited that Chu Godric is somebody that kind of has, quote unquote, pushed Lucas Niang to try and go to other positions. Like that's a pretty good story. That's a pretty cool story. And I hope that when we saw him last during preseason, where he wasn't actually embarrassing himself, and I do say that in a positive way for a guy that has not played football at the experience that he has in this preseason, if he can build upon that and possibly make this roster, that'd be a pretty cool outcome as far as I'm concerned, at least in that aspect. So be interesting to see what happens when the pads come on and obviously when preseason games start. But that's a little bit of an update as far as the trenches are concerned as well. Speaking of pads coming on Friday, from you guys' perspective, what are you guys most excited about pads coming on? CJ, I know you're jumping for joy about this, so go ahead and lead us off.
Definitely the linemen. That's the biggest competition. I know we have all our little camp battles and we have to talk about storylines to get us to September 5th when we're waiting on the Ravens to come to town. I've told D-Mac and DG this multiple times. The only battle I'm interested in is left tackle. Anything else is kind of irrelevant to me. It's going to figure itself out. So Kingsley and Wanye, first day of pads, obviously I expect Wanye to have the edge. Second year, he should know the system better. He should know what to expect, not from his teammates, but obviously from the D-line coming into camp. But obviously Kingsley is an athlete. Like to D-Mac's point, he's an extremely gifted guy. He has a bloodline. He's a guy that can come in and play multiple different positions. And to DG's point, versatility is the name of the game. So if he comes in there and shows that versatility, he can maybe a guy that could take the starter spot and be our left tackle going into 2024. So I'm definitely excited to see the linemen get after it, see the one-on-ones. I'm definitely going to try to make it up to St. Joe a couple more times to watch that in person for sure. But definitely the lineman in the left tackle position will be the main thing I'll be paying attention to for sure. And anytime you get to see Chris Jones and Trey Smith go at it, it's like two bulls colliding. So never a bad day when you get to see that too.
Yeah, it's the same thing for me. When the pads come on, it's really about the linemen. I guess seeing the receivers and the DBs as well too, kind of go up against each other, the one-on-ones and in those matchups as well too. But pass come on, the trenches is what it's really about. The big guys get to shine. So definitely excited to see our defensive line versus our offensive line at this point and see those battles, those one-on-ones. I'm really interested in seeing how Kingsley handles some of those one-on-ones, especially off the edge against guys who've been in the league and have some experience at this level. Seeing what he can do up against a guy like a George Karlaftis or Mike Dana, or some guys that's really going to push him to the limit, push his limits and see what he has. So yeah, interested in that, man. And we'll see, man. We'll see what happens. This is when real football, gets going. We see what guys are really, really made of, man. Especially the pads come on, that heat and the grass, and it all comes together, man. And football is here, man.
Grass, the heat and
man.
grass,
man.
You can
that
smell
blue
it.
and the heat and see that the steam coming off in the morning,
Football
and
field.
you know what I mean.
When you put that helmet on, man, it's different, man. When you put that helmet,
man.
you go, all right,
Put
coach, I'm ready to rock
that
now.
helmet on.
The heat and
Talking
the
shit.
It's about 90 something
I'm gonna tell y'all right
degrees.
now, you ain't never seen nobody talk so much shit in smack talk between today and tomorrow. When they get ready, like the D lineman is already talking crazy to the O line, like, no better whoop y'all ass, right? Like y'all been having these little camp practices when we ain't got no pads on. I can tell you right now, Chris is in the locker room going crazy every day. D linemen love this week. The first day of pads, because the D line always got the jump, because it's always an adjustment period for old linemen, because obviously they're on the defense, they're catching a lot of defenders. So, and obviously they're always trying to get an edge up on the offense, because they're usually integrating guys in, trying to learn the offense. Defense, everything is set in place. We're slanting, we're gapping, we're doing our twist stunts. It's just football and just go. The offense is going to take a little bit of a learning curve. Obviously, our offense has experience together, so it's not too much. But usually there's still a lot of newer guys up front. Like you got rookies starting at play for Tooney. You got Wanya and Kingsley trying to solidify that spot. So it's going to be an adjustment period for those guys. But the first two guys, I expect the defensive line to dominate. It's integrated for y'all. We're going to be doing run gap drills. We're going to be doing goal line, and defense is going to be talking trash and be all hype. I'm like, it's a run drill, and everybody in America knows we're running the football. Congratulations. Let's get on 11 on 11 when you can actually run plays and there's a flow of the offense and you don't know what's coming. It's the best part of camp. First 2 days of pads are always the best day. I can't wait.
You can tell how excited CJ is. And look, this is not strictly about the big guys. This linebacker room is going to be very fascinating, specifically from a depth perspective, seeing what guys like Cole Christensen, Jack Cochran, and Cam Jones can do. And Curtis Jacobs still trying to make this team 29 out of Penn State, the rookie UDFA. He actually made a pretty nice play in the ball during our 11 on 11 period as well. So I'm going to be interested to see what the backup linebacker group can do. Obviously, safety run fits. There's a certain level of physicality that comes with putting pads on. And so you see all the speed demons running around out there from a wide receiver perspective. Well, look, it's a little different when you can get your hands on them for real. And jam them at the line to try and throw up that timing and actually have a pass rush coming with it. So those two aspects combined is going to be interesting to watch as far as the competition is concerned. And look, certainly the running back room is going to be a fascinating portion of this as well. Certainly want to see how they respond to that physicality, who can handle it, who can't. We've seen glimmers of Luis Rees-Zammit to this point, a little bit more on special teams work, and I wanted to see the reaction of DG's face when I mentioned his name because
inside run. Hey, DG, we get inside run with Luis Zammit.
And we're going to see how that man handles some physicality. He made one nice catch, but he also dropped the ball as well. It's a little bit overthrown. So it'll be fascinating to see how things progress when those pads do end up coming on. But ultimately, it is about
DG hit him with the KG meme, D-Mac, when he dropped it. Trash ass. That's what DG said. I know he did. Trash ass me. So
it is ultimately going to be about those big guys because that's what you're going to be evaluating from an offensive line perspective. But I'm also going to be evaluating from a defensive line perspective. And we got two guys in this specific clip here. We got FAU kind of sitting down if it does want to load. I don't know if it's going to want to load. It could or could not want to load. I'm not sure.
Hey man, look, you gotta have one.
Go ahead, DG.
Just call me haters, you ain't popping.
Yeah, just call me the Luis Rees-Zammit hater, right?
So specifically this clip, obviously Felix Nadu gave Zama last year's first round pick working on his get-offs, obviously coming off his training with Tamba Ali. And we see Tershawn Ward and Mike Dana also in the picture. But the other guy back there, if you can see him walking in over there to the left, about to give some fans autographs, is Mr. 99, our guy Fabian Lovett Jr. out of Florida State, the UADFA. We get to see if he can move guys on the interior as well. It's going to be fascinating to see. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it. I know CJ is going to be extremely excited. I expect CJ to be behind there on the far field, out there looking like it's the old Browns coach. Just happy to see him.
Hey, man, that stomach was crazy work.
That
stomach was crazy work.
Never going to get old, but I know CJ gonna be very happy to see them pads start clanging and hear that sound. Yes, also Country's guy. Yes, shout out to FSU. That is Country's guy. But yeah, I want to see Fabian try to push somebody on the interior. Obviously, we know Mike Pennell, Tershawn Ward, and Derek Nadi, those guys are locked in next to Chris Jones. Is there a chance that him or Neil Farrell can push for an extra interior defensive line spot? They're going to have to show out and start to win when the pads are ultimately coming on. So, yeah, that's a little bit of overview of what we saw in the first few days of camp. Some things to look out for, look forward to as far as pads coming on earlier or later on in the week as well. To wrap it up, we did have a little bit of a reveal for the first, I guess, technically 30 players on the NFL top 100 list that got the same reaction from DG as Luis Rees-Zammit did, which I enjoyed greatly. I wasn't expecting that one, but I enjoyed it. So anything stand out to you guys about numbers 100 through 81? And I'll put the ones that
Aaron Rodgers making the list is a complete joke. It's a joke. The list is a joke. Like
it is. He's not lying. It is a joke. It's like
I understand. Like I get a lot of players have a lot of respect for Aaron Rodgers. I got a lot of respect for Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers has been one of my favorite quarterbacks to watch growing up as well too. That man played 4 snaps last year. Like
you being nice.
Like, come on, man. And y'all still put him on the list at 92? Like there was nobody else on the list that was more valuable or more, but that had a better season, that actually played a full season, that could have went on the list. It's
so funny.
It's baffling. Don't get me wrong. I know this is voted on by the players, and like I said, I know they have a
Is
lot.
It really?
That's what makes me think. Like, is this really all the players, or is this just the NFL sometimes sneaking some guys in there just because they don't want to piss some guys off.
You know the players ain't writing no 100 list. They
know,
probably
well,
give you a top 10. They ain't writing no 100. They ain't writing no 100 games.
It is the annual tradition in which I explained on how the actual voting works is that they have guys write down their top 20 around November of every year, and that ends up making up the top 100 after they average everything out. And it's not actually every player does it. It's just a handful of players.
A couple of players here. It's funny.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron Rodgers is one of the more name recognition guys. So even with 4 snaps under his belt last year, he did end up making the list. Even though would not have made my personal list. It is what it is. That's a different conversation for a different day. And also Derwin James wouldn't have made my list, but that's, a lot of different conversations. I do want to give a shout out to Julian Love, who had a dang good season with the Seahawks. And it's an absolute travesty. It's also an absolute travesty that Trevor Lawrence is behind Aaron Rodgers and Kirk Cousins. I do not care. That means a really good quarterback.
I will say I did expect I was kind of shocked with Tristan Wirfs. Was it?
That was other than that. Thank you for pointing that out.
I thought he could be in the top 50, but
he is a top 50 player. What are we doing?
Yeah, they got him at 85.
He legitimately
this man
over
went
from right
to left tackle, and made it flawlessly. What are we doing?
Like he played an extremely high level. He's one of the best left tackles in the league, and they put him at 85.
He's one of the best tackles in the league. Period. What are we talking? This list is trash. All right, we can go.
That's just because that's the way the list is unfortunately voted on, and it's unfortunate. Yes, they are.
All-Pro is a rookie, but he's not a top 50 player. He was an All-Pro as a rookie.
I bet it was awful. He didn't play. He played
even
4 snaps.
You played to win the game.
Like, come on, man. That man literally ran out the tunnel with the American flag and then got hurt on the next play.
That was great.
And that was it. And we still play him in 92?
He ain't holding the flag this year, I bet you that. Well, he on the road, but he ain't.
It was so funny. They were showing Jordy Nelson and Donald Driver highlights for Aaron Rodgers, man. I was cracking.
He ain't played with them in years. He ain't played with them in years.
Oh, so funny.
Most players can't even give you 20 guys, let alone 100, bro. That's so trash.
Like putting Kirk Cousins on there, I could still understand. At least Kirk
Cousins should be higher,
half the season, at least. Looking at the rest of this list, man, I did see some Bengals fans were kind of upset where Trey Henderson was, and I kind of gotta agree with them. I think it's a little low for him too. I think he could have cracked maybe top 60, top 50, maybe. He was one of the better pass rushers in the league last year. I don't have too much issues with the rest of the guys that are here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have any crazy gripes.
It's good talking points. Sam Laporta should be higher, but it's just talking points. So
I think Justin Herbert and both Trevor Lawrence could be higher as well, but some of that's baked in as far as the quarterbacks are concerned. So it is what it is. Tunsil, wasn't necessarily as elite as he normally had been. He was a little bit in and out of the lineup as well. So I understand his slide. I think that Garrett Wilson is maybe 72 is actually fine with Garrett Wilson. So I don't really have any issues with this part of the list. To be honest with you, I think it was fine. No issues there.
Glad to see Jesse Bates made it. He had a very good year last year as well for Atlanta. Was probably the best player on that defense for Atlanta. Greenlaw as well too, well deserved.
Kyron Williams
definitely well deserved. Laporta probably could have been higher, but I think a lot of people they don't really put rookies very high on the list when early on. So respect to him though. But this part of the list I'm okay with. I don't think there's really any guys that I really would dispute or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, certainly. And so that was just a little bit of the things that had come out as far as obviously the fun lists that end up happening this time of year because people are just trying to get content to get to the point where they can finally have football back. So some real quick storylines from around the league. we've heard, quarterback contracts, Tua Tagovailoa, Jordan Love still waiting. Jordan Love not necessarily practicing while waiting on his new contract, but is at camp. Wide receiver storylines, obviously, T. Higgins not getting an extension, has signed the tag, going to report to camp. Jamar Chase, hoping to get an extension, has not received said extension. CeeDee Lamb, hoping to get an extension, not going to show up to camp, which is understandable as well. Hassan Reddick also sitting out for the Jets, not showing up to camp because I don't know why the Jets traded for somebody that wanted to get paid and they didn't pay him and expected him to show up. Probably should have done that.
Jets.
Those are a few around the league storylines. I did see Christian Darrisaw get a brand new contract, left tackle for the Vikings, well earned. And the Jaguars played one of their underrated quarterbacks as well. A pretty nice chunk of change, I'll say, down there from that perspective. I don't think there's anything else really to bring up as far as camp is concerned.
Michael Gallup retired.
Yeah, Michael Gallup retired, which is unfortunately a show of how quickly injuries can harm your career.
Man,
to say the least, which is
and it would be the Raiders of all teams. That's funny.
All right.
And I almost forgot Slim Shady got approved for practice for the Bengals.
Well, the real Slim Shady finally stood up, ladies and gentlemen. Let's give it up.
Can we pull it? Do you have that? Can we pull that up real quick?
Let's
real
not
fast.
do that.
Real
Let's
fast.
not do that.
You want to?
Oh, God.
Come on, let's be petty. What?
Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at. I believe this is Ken from the new Barbie movie.
It's giving. I hate you, mom.
I hate you, mom. It's crazy.
Yeah. That's a combination right there.
Jesus Christ.
It's giving. Leave me alone, mom.
The good news is that the CT scans look better than that hairstyle. So it's important there.
Nah, man. Nah. I got a lot of respect for Joe Burrow.
We got the Juntao. Oh man, and we got the Sid from Toy Story as well. Shout out to GG, man.
Yeah. Shout out to Joe Burrow, man. Got a lot of respect for Joe Burrow. It's just all jokes, Joe. It's nothing against you, dog. It's just
we got to tell a few jokes.
That boy got in his Jimmy Butler bag before camp. All right, go on.
I was not expecting that.
See, here's the thing. Everybody should take their cues from Agent Wilson and not Jimmy Butler or Joe Burrow. Stop doing the crazy hairstyles before camp. Actually do one that will be a well-served photo for the rest of the year if you're going to switch it up as far as your hairstyle is concerned, like Agent Wilson did, and not have you out there looking crazy like Jimmy Butler or Joe Burrow will end up looking crazy for the rest of the season. So shout out to them. But yeah, that's all we got for y'all today as far as Tell the Truth is concerned. We're looking forward to them pads coming on Friday. Go check out the Kingdom Cast account. Again, we're doing a countdown from some of our personalities. We did Dominic Millar's part of Arrowhead AM/PM's top 5 moments of the dynastic era for the Chiefs. We're currently in the middle of countries. We've got mine, CJ's, DG's, Boogie's, Kylie's, Chuck's. Everybody's coming up as well as we count down to the kickoff of the 2024 season, Chiefs and Raiders as well. Be on the lookout for spaces. I'll be hosting Red Friday this Friday. Certainly recapping as far as what we hear from the first day of pads, offensive line rotations, defensive line matchups from that perspective. Arrowhead AM/PM will be hosting the space tomorrow morning as well. Be on the lookout for that if you guys do have the chance to roll by. So all that being said, we'll be back later on next week as well, recapping a few of the weekend padded practices. Kingdom Cast will be back on Thursday night as well. Looking forward to it. Anything before we go ahead and get on out of here?
Nah, man. Hopefully we catch y'all up at training camp in these next couple days, next couple weeks. So if you're out there and you see us, stop by, take a picture, whatever.
Say what's up.
Say what's up.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't be afraid to come up and say hi. Have no problem. We got to meet Chris, as you guys have seen in the chat.
Meet Chris.
We were hanging out with the King's Queens. Shout out to them getting their stuff over there on
great content
podcast.
Everybody pulled up.
Some great content. Lexi got the selfie of the day with Luis Rees-Zammit. So go crazy as well.
Still
But
didn't
yeah.
ask him on the date, Lexi. So
Because she's a
Make that
responsible
happen.
young lady. Because she's smart.
hey, I'm just saying, single guy, single girl. Never
I'm
mind.
gonna make no comments whatsoever. I wish everybody to have a great rest of the week and enjoy the summer. It's gonna be hot, so I hope y'all got your bucket hats ready. Hope y'all hydrated or have a pool to jump in as well. So everybody enjoy it. Summer training camp continuing on. We'll continue to have updates for you guys, clips coming on the account. Make sure you guys tap in with us on a consistent basis. But for now, for yours truly, DMAC, for DG and CJ, man, peace out. Got to tell the truth.
Peace.
Go Chiefs.
Go Chiefs.